Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Talking Business with Kevin Mumphrey. Today, we're going to dive into the world of freelance journalism. More so, in this case, the world of sports journalism. It's one of those professions that people don't necessarily think about all a writer has to do in that field. When we get our sports information from major networks like ESPN, they get their information from multiple sports journalists around the country to get the insight they cannot get for themselves. These writers do more than just give us the stats and scores. They give us the details we cannot get for ourselves. They also give us access to our favorite athletes and teams. And they are also the ones who hold them accountable. Today we talk to one of those journalists, Mike Patton from Nashville, Tennessee, a lover of writing who took that love and made it his career. So what got you interested in the world of freelance journalism?
Well, honestly, it's just an evolution of my writing, is what I can say. When I first started writing, I never had any idea that I wanted to be any type of freelance journalist. I just was doing a blog. And from there, a few other opportunities opened. And then I was like, hey, I need to try to start getting paid for my work here instead of just writing something just to be writing. So kind of looked around and did a few things, and then some few opportunities opened themselves up so I could actually make money writing. So it's kind of like just an evolution of writing. It wasn't necessarily me looking for it; it just actually found me, I should say.
So, I guess, were you in college for writing, or any form of English or journalism?
Funny thing, I was not in college for any type of writing at all.
Funny how that works.
I actually hated English. I actually almost flunked my senior year of high school because I hated English, and I wrote a horrible paper. And I almost flunked my senior year of high school. So just because of English class. And then I hated it in college too. So imagine my surprise that I like writing.
Okay, so what did you major in college?
I was actually a marketing major. I have a marketing degree.
You are so far from that.
Well, with the day job, I'm kind of close to it, but with the freelance stuff, nah, I'm way away from marketing.
So when you got to the point when you realized you wanted to dive into journalism, how did you get your kind of get yourself out there?
Social media. Social media has been huge. Putting my stuff out there on social media, getting into groups, talking, having group discussions. Because the thing is, with growing your platform, you can't just grow your platform by just putting your work in groups and just walking away. You got to actually engage people, jump in conversations, things like that. And as that started to happen, I got in touch with more people, and my profile started to grow a little bit more and allowed me to get in touch with different people, getting different things, and stuff of that nature.
So when you started in freelance journalism, was it sports that you dived in first, or other topics?
Definitely with sports. And actually, during the pandemic, actually is when I started to evolve more outside of sports to do more different things. Because, at a point, there wasn't any sports going on for 3 or 4 months. There wasn't sports going on because, the NBA had stopped and, stuff like that. So at that point, when that happened, I started diving into different things, and that actually helped me evolve into, being able to do articles outside of sports and growing in that aspect even more.
So before you get into the whole pandemic, because I wanted to dive into the sports. So when you started writing for sports, what would you say is the sports landscape for Nashville when you started?
I mean, honestly, the sports landscape in Nashville, when I started writing in general, I literally did not start writing on national sports. I wrote on everything going on across the nation in my blogs and things like that. But as I've gotten more into Nashville sports, one thing that I do and I definitely love doing is trying to shine some light on the HBCU that one of the HBCUs in Nashville, which is Tennessee State. Whenever I can, I definitely try to write an article on Tennessee State And, of course, you have the Titans. I haven't really gotten much into hockey with the Predators. I'm trying to, more understand the game. But as I more understand the game, maybe I'll be able to write more there. But, definitely, TSU, definitely right on the Titans. And, I'm trying to evolve to get there on the Predators. And also at one point in time, I did do high school football games on Friday nights. So I used to go out, cover the games, go to find the nearest McDonald's or something of that nature with Wi-Fi, write the article in the parking lot and send it in as the coverage for the game.
So the timing aspect of it, like, so what's a normal kind of time frame that you have for, let's say, a high school game? So what's kind of a normal time frame that you usually, like a writer would need to kind of write the story, I guess, proofread it? Like what's your process?
Oh boy. Well, I would say this: the covering the high school games in terms of the Tennessean is a whole other animal. That actually, you have to take notes during the game, and you have to learn how to actually keep up with how drives are going on your own. The Tennessean actually taught me how to do that. The guy that was at the Tennessean at the time. Basically, you have to keep up with how the drives are going, who's doing what in the drive, and names. Find the names after the game. So you're doing all that stuff. You're kind of, turning your wheels on how the story's going to go as the game's going on. The end of the game comes, you get quotes from the players that you see where the stars when you add up all the numbers. You go and get quotes from them, quotes from the coach, try to get quotes from both sides. Then that's about 10 o'clock, 10:15, something of that nature. Then of course, I've already located the nearest McDonald's. So I go to the nearest McDonald's, literally probably sit in the parking lot, break my computer out, get the article in. You have to have the article in by 11 o'clock. So, that's the quick turnaround. Yeah. So I'm literally already writing some of the article in my mind while I'm at the game. When I get to the parking lot, break down basically what happened in the game pretty quickly, throw the quotes in, kind of move them around, shuffle them a little bit, and then get it in by 11 o'clock. So literally I have like 40 minutes to get to the McDonald's, write the article, get it into the Tennessean. That was what the timing was.
So I think like the process of how you watch the game now is kind of interesting because you can't just watch the game like a regular fan. It's almost like you're watching it as like a member of the coaching staff.
Right, right, definitely. Trying to the biggest thing I learned from writing for the Tennessean is you gotta also pay attention to the particular little momentum changes or a particular drive or just a particular instance a little bit more because that one particular point you pointed out could be something that somebody missed while watching the game that you bring to their attention through the right.
Now you tend to hear this like from like professional players or sometimes when they complain about journalists, like they didn't play the game, so how can they talk about it? So what is it that you as a journalist, how do you see the game that kind of benefits it that maybe a professional athlete maybe not see, or basically how can you see it the same way he does?
Well, honestly, I've played sports my entire life. I played football all the way through college. I played basketball pretty much, all the way to high school senior. So I have experience playing the game. I may not have it on a high level, but I do have experience playing the game. And through that, you do have your basic philosophies that still stick, whether it's high school, college, or pro. So, definitely with that, that's where I kind of get the unique perspective that I write with because I can see those different things and understand those different positions when it comes to breaking down how certain things happen, how certain angles were missed, how certain blocks were missed, how this was happening, that would happen, because I played it, and especially in secondary. Secondary, I can definitely understand that in terms of techniques, back pedals, and cover two, cover three, all those different coverages. Very easy to break down just because I played it for so long.
Now, and earlier you was mentioning how you started off doing national and breaking it down locally. Like, did you see like a grower on like listeners or readers per se doing it that way?
Well, nationally, I definitely did. I mean, starting off with my blog, I mean, honestly, people were very interested in the topics that I would choose. Literally, when I first started, I started maybe August of 2010. And I literally was just writing and, whatever. And in 2011, I decided, okay, cool. I'm gonna put all I got into this and see what happens. And literally, I started writing 2 a day on national media stuff. And I had a marketing strategy that I used. I would make sure to put stuff in every single room and make sure to engage with every single person that would reply back, to anything that I would put out. And I would engage in conversations. And as I did that, the popularity of my blog at that point in time grew. And it just continued to grow and grow because that's just the thing I didn't want to do. I didn't want to leave anyone out or invalidate anyone's opinions by not responding to them when they responded to my article and read my article.
So you mentioned marketing, and I don't think the average person don't think about the marketing aspect of freelance journalism. So if you can kind of expound on that.
Okay, well, when it comes to marketing and being a freelance journalist, you have to also understand that not everyone's going to go find your stuff unless you're like working for like ESPN or Deadspin or I'm just throwing names out there, but or any of like what Sporting News or anything of that nature. No one's going to go find your stuff. So because you're not a household name. So with that being said, your job is to be able to get stuff in front of people, to know your audience. Like, for example, if I write an article on the Tennessee Titans, I'm not going to put it in the Houston Texans room for people to talk about it because no one's going to talk about it. So just understanding your audience, understanding, the people you need to get in front of, just studying the people that are even on your timeline. Like, for example, I know the people on my timeline and the teams they're fans of. So I know who to contact and who to put it in front of to say, hey, let's let this person read it. Let's let this person talk about it, and maybe they'll share it on to someone else. That's how you kind of, focus your marketing. Of course, put it in different rooms, of course, in different places, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, stuff like that. You just focus and pay attention to who likes what, who reads your articles, who's engaged with your articles, and kind of cater things towards those different groups of people. And that's how you kind of grow and market, the things that you have and grow and get more people.
Now, you mentioned you started like in 2010, and I'm thinking like, I don't know, were the Titans good at that time or like the Grizzlies?
I would say the Titans, 2000, I think 8, where they were the number 1 seed, I believe, in the AFC. 2010, I think they were kind of a little rough that during that time, but still kept up with them. Still keep up with them now, of course, obviously. But at that time, I honestly can't remember what they were doing that season. But of course, we're in Nashville, so got to keep an eye on them.
But like now you've seen growth. Like we just were in the playoffs, but 3 interceptions changed that. And you got the Memphis Grizzlies that are pretty much one of the most exciting teams in the NBA. Hockey's blowing up. So with Tennessee's, like their professional team blowing up, does it make your job more exciting or does it like add more to your play?
Well, it adds more to my play, definitely. I mean, and of course, you got to add in there Tennessee State with the hiring of Eddie George, that excitement around the program there at TSU. It definitely adds more, but it also brings an element of, okay, cool. I have different things I can choose from to kind of talk about. I can talk about this day, or I can talk about this that day. I don't have to necessarily dig as deep to find different subjects and things to write about sometimes, or sometimes if I feel like I want to go back and dig a little deeper, I can do that too. So I have a lot of different options and varieties of things I can do now, as opposed to probably at that point in time.
So when you're like writing a story, and again, you want to do more than just a score or records, because everybody knows that you try to like dig deeper, like get into the player or something that's going on within the season. So how do you go looking for what you want to write about particularly?
Well, I let the game kind of give me that, to be honest. I mean, give you a prime example. I just wrote something for the Nashville Voice about the Titans' loss. I kind of let the game provide to me what I need to write about. Now, the easy thing to write about is the 3 interceptions. That's that's easy to write about when it comes to Ryan Tannehill.
Very
But
easy.
the other thing, what's that?
That's very easy. I'll
Right,
never forget
right.
those interceptions.
But the other things that people can easily forget about talking about is the offensive flow of the game. When it comes to the plays called by the offensive coordinator or a sequence of plays, like for example, I can still remember 3rd and 1, they ran an RPO, which is of course run pass option, and Tannehill kept it, and the Bengals knew it was coming. Then the next play, they lined Henry up in the backfield, and they run the ball, but everyone knew that was coming. It was just an obvious thing. I kind of talk a little bit about those different things too. But what I'm saying is, I let the game give me the story, but I also dig a little deeper so I can find little nuggets of things that people may have looked over or missed while watching the game.
Now, you also talked about writing for HBCUs. So, like, why is that important to you to like be the voice of an HBCU in Tennessee?
Well, when I can and when I'm available to, I always like to give them shine. I mean, especially specifically Tennessee State. That's who I'm able to go to football games and basketball games to cover. Um, even if I don't write a story, I'd like to at least, write a status or something of that nature to let people know how they're doing. Because the thing is about Nashville, in terms of Black Nashville, whether you went to Tennessee State or not, when Tennessee State is doing well and things like that, it's good for the city. It tends to bring us all together more, as opposed to when they're not good, it tends to not have more things happen. Like for sure, homecoming and those type of things that happens. But I still remember being there when Penny Collins and the TSU men's basketball team were top 10 in the country and like an increase in fans coming to the game. I remember that. I was there watching that whole season. It was awesome. I mean, people were in the house every game. So, those type of things as well. I just feel like even though I didn't go to TSU, I feel like it's my responsibility as a Nashvilleian and as a Black Nashvilleian to give them love, to let people see what's going on. So that way, I enjoy seeing us come together in happy and joyous moments. And I want to help create those moments.
Now, how competitive would you say the field of freelance journalism is?
Honestly, I don't see it necessarily as a competition to me, to be honest. I mean, the way I look at it is there's a seat for everyone at the table. Now, does everyone write something that you want to write sometimes? Yes, that happens. It's just a matter of can you get it out quicker than the next person. But the biggest thing is to get it out accurately. That's the biggest thing. But, I don't see it necessarily as a competition. I see it as a something to that. It's just something that we can all eat at the table. I don't. I'm not going to be like, hey, I'm going to come for you. I'm going to do this, this, and this because I got you. I'm going to do, if anything, I'm going to try to help that next person so they can get there where they want to be, and we all can eat.
Now, do you think like more people in like that do this journalism in Nashville kind of take on that like collaborative, you help me, I help you type of formula?
Not everybody does. I can't speak for everybody, but I can say not everybody does that. But I definitely have come across a lot of people that do help each other and point things out and stuff like that as well. I've seen more helping than I've seen more hurting. If that makes any sense.
Now, when most people get their their sports is usually from like debate shows or local radio. So, what do you, as a writer, provide that a reader could necessarily get from Stephen A. Smith or the local radio disc jockey here?
What I provide is a little bit more of an aspect of going between the lines and the numbers, because you also got to remember that that are on radio are on a time limit, and that time limit means they're trying to fit as much information as they can in that time limit. And a lot of times, some things get just glossed over. what I like to do is I like to bring the information that, could have led up to the certain thing that they said is the big play of the game, or the certain, that's what I feel like I bring. I bring the intangibles and not just necessarily the superstar moments, if you get what I'm saying.
Gotcha. So I want to kind of get into the pandemic. So I guess at what point did you started realizing kind of like you was getting less sports to actually report on because it like all these sports was being taken away. They was all shutting down. So at what point did you start noticing like, oh, I got a problem?
I mean, of course, when everything shut down, I knew immediately something was going on, or I was going to have a problem there. But as it went on, I got to admit, I didn't quite write as much during the first part of the pandemic, just in March, going till the NBA came back. I didn't really write as much because I'm sitting there like, okay. In terms of journalism, I didn't write very much. Other stuff I did, but I thought about it and I was like, okay, what can I do next? Where can I go here? What can I do next? And it took me that time actually allowed me to step back and think about more things that I can do to expand who I am as a writer. So while some would say the pandemic in terms of their production hurt them, I would say the pandemic allowed me to expand my horizons and not necessarily fit in one box, as they would say.
Yeah, I got to ask this because, the Michael Jordan doc at that time, it seemed like everybody was trying to eat off that for as long as they could. So, I mean, did you get a little nibbles off of that as well?
I did more conversations about it than I actually did writing about it, because I was like, I just want to enjoy it because I'm a Bulls fan. So I just want to enjoy it and get from it what I can, or just understand the moments that went along with it. Now, do I feel it could have been done better? Yes, I definitely feel like it could have been done better, because it just seemed like it was Michael Jordan and the Bullets as opposed to the actual Last Dance. So I think it could have went a little bit more in depth with, kind of showing the whole team, as opposed to, I know Michael Jordan was the star, and of course I know that. I'm not crazy enough to not think he isn't, but I think they could have went more in depth with a lot of the whole picture.
I think Scottie Pippen would agree with you.
I don't know if it's good to agree with Scottie Pippen on a lot of things.
That's a good point as well. So did you, because you also said you dive in the world of podcasting, did you do that during the pandemic as well?
Yeah, I mean, of course, as you know, we're still in one, but yeah, I definitely started that. I started doing during the Titans games. I actually started on an app called the Haps app. I started doing like a breakdown of what it would take for the Titans to win before games. I did that, started that, 2020, I believe. Yeah, I started that about midway through the season, 2020 season. I would do like little breakdowns of, what it would take for them to win. And then after the game, come back to those points and talk about it. And, I did that for a little while. And, I thought about it and I was like, I'm not going to have all this stuff to talk about just be Titans every week. So since I'm in the South, why not talk about more things in the South or the AFC South? So I took up on that. I looked at a lot of people I've got in touch with over the years, in terms of former players and media contacts. Looked at that and I was like, okay, cool. Let's get this show going. Let's talk about the whole AFC South and go from there. So yes, the pandemic has definitely allowed me to be a little bit more creative in other things I'm doing, including the podcast.
Now, what other forms of writing were you doing at this time?
Now, I do write short stories, and I've written probably 5 short story series. Now, these are totally different than anything I write in sports. Totally creative off the top of my mind. And people ask me, do I script these things out in terms of what I write? No, they're totally freelance off the top of my head. And I literally come up with each chapter as it comes to me in my mind while I'm listening to like an album. I'll give you an example. I'll take an album, like I'll like Black, East Atlanta Love Letter. I listen to that whole album and I listen to it repeatedly, and I'll write chapter 1, and then I'll come back the next day, write chapter 2, or the next week and write chapter 3, 4, 5. And I'll go on to like 10, 11, 12 chapters of a short story series, listening to the same album over and over again, and not planning out any of these characters, but just remembering from the first chapter to the second chapter to the third chapter and going on from there. So I've done that. I've done poetry. Probably going to get into some script writing as well. So I've done quite a bit.
So I guess you can say 2020 has brought up a more creative side to you.
Definitely. I always knew I had that kind of creativity, but it's just expounding on it and actually sitting down and doing it is the thing that has happened now.
Well, congratulations, because a lot of people were losing their minds at that time.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't lose, my mind, or try to, not lose my mind, but, of course, trying to, make sense of everything going on. But yeah, definitely, try to make some positives out of what was going on.
Now, what would you say has been like the biggest sport event that you've covered?
Oh, that's easy. That would be the Super Bowl. I actually covered the Super Bowl in Minneapolis for Pro Player Insiders. I did that. That was back, I think 2018, one in Minneapolis, with Philadelphia was versus New England. Yeah, I covered that entire week. That was fun. That was fun, and it was definitely cold. I mean, every day had to be, let's see, every day went below zero. Every day.
I went to Minneapolis for an interview once, and it was in the like dead of winter. Like, now I don't even want this job. It's too cold for this kind of work. So I completely understand.
Oh, I had to
How
walk
did you
the street
prepare to
one
do
time
that?
too. What's that?
How did you like prepare to like cover? Because I mean, it's a lot going on during the Super Bowl. So
Mhm.
how did you like the pregame? Like, what are you doing at the game and the rain? Like that whole process.
Like during the week, that you have different assignments you have to do that they provide for you, different assignments. So you're at the press conferences. Like I got to see Bill Belichick and Tom Brady speak, and I got to be honest, that wasn't the most interesting press conferences in the world. But definitely got to watch both of them speak, and actually see Tom Brady, which he's every bit of 6'5", 6'6", for people that don't know. But yeah, just to
Whoa, I didn't expect that.
yeah, he's 6'5". He's 6'5", 6'6", around that range. Just going leading up to the week and getting questions and getting articles in, that was fun. But prepping for the game was a whole nother experience. I mean, going through the security is always interesting. I mean, you basically ride, if you're in the media, this is what my experience was in Minneapolis. Now, somebody else may say something different, but they basically rode on the bus. The media center was at the Minneapolis Mall, the big mall in Minneapolis. That's where the media center was for the Super Bowl. And you basically, if you're covering the game, you ride on a bus over to the game. You go through media, security, you take out all your computer, everything, whatever you have that's electrical or electronic, and plus, your wallet and everything. Put that on, you go through that, right? That's your first security. Your second security is you've got your media credentials that you receive. You receive those the day before the game. You don't get your media credentials for the actual Super Bowl till the day before the game. So I got that. And it's literally like, how you have like a regular media credential that's about like one little area about like that big.
Yeah.
This one was two, like this and this. So it has your picture on it and everything. And when you walk in, you scan it and your picture comes up to make sure that it is you. Your picture that you took that week at Super Bowl coverage. So you get that, you go to an area, and you're basically, there was two different media areas. There was a media main area and a media auxiliary. Now the media auxiliary was up top, and that was gotta be cold. It was cold up there. It was cold, but it is what it is. You had your little area that had food and everything. But yeah, it was a blast going to that game. And literally I could look over to my left and there was Eagles fans. Looked over to your right, there was more media people. I mean, it was amazing. And going in to cover that, get prepared for that, man, you just literally, as the week goes on, you prepare a little bit more for it every day. You kind of pick up on different things. Now, I didn't get to make any of the practices, of course, but definitely got to pick up on different things in media sessions, things like that from the kicker for the Eagles, Doug Peterson, and just talking to different media members that were there covering those different teams as well.
That sounds like a fun yet cold experience.
Very much was. Very much was. Actually, be honest, I went to the press conference where Justin Timberlake was, talking about his performance. So I knew that performance was coming when he talked about it, but I didn't necessarily enjoy the performance. I would say, it was cool, but it was all right. It was all right. But I was there at the press conference, and him and AJ, AJ from 106 and Park Days.
Yeah.
They were there actually tossing the football while the press conference was going on. So, and I met him and Kevin Frazier. Him and Kevin Frazier were literally sitting right behind me.
Oh, I definitely know Kevin Frazier. You've seen him everywhere for years.
Yes. Yeah, they were literally sitting right behind me.
Did you make a contact with him?
We did talk for a little bit, but of course, if they want to reach out, that's fine. But I can, some people you did create contacts with, other people no. Like for example, Teron Davenport. That was the first time I actually met Teron Davenport. He was actually covering the Eagles at that time, and now, of course, he's here covering the Titans for ESPN.
All right, so look like you got something great out of that.
Definitely.
So, you're also a fan. So, are you able to take your journalism hat off and just sometimes watch a game?
I definitely do that. I mean, for those that don't know, I support the Titans. I hope they do well. And, of course, I root for them. But my favorite team actually is the San Francisco 49ers. That's been my favorite team since I was a kid because I wanted to be Jerry Rice when I was a kid. So, those games, I definitely can sit down and watch those games. It's hard sometimes to watch those games and remember that, hey, I do write on these things. I'm not necessarily someone that can be saying, hey, this should happen, that should happen, whatever. But, those games test me a little bit. But, over the years, it's been a little bit easier to kind of just analyze the game and give people the actual breakdowns as opposed to talking like a fan.
Now, when you're watching these games, can you watch these with other people, or do you usually just kind of got to watch them by yourself and just zone out?
I can watch them with other people. The biggest thing I've tried to learn over the years is not everyone knows the breakdowns or the different things that are involved in football games. That's the biggest thing I've tried to teach myself and learn. Now, sometimes I do slip, and when someone tells me something and I know it doesn't make any sense to me, but I've done better over the years of trying to break down and help people understand that, that's not possible. Like, for example, I've heard a few different things told me this week and about the Titans. And, I'm just like, it isn't possible. It just isn't possible. But, of course, people argue up and down about it. But I'm just, you learn to step away from some of those things.
Now, before I let you go, I kind of got to get some sports takes from you. So first, what do you think the future is? Because you see Eddie George at TSU football, you got Deion Sanders. So what do you see as the future for HBCU sports?
I mean, I see it continuing to grow and get brighter. I mean, Deion Sanders is definitely leading the charge there. I mean, he just got the number one player in the nation, but, number one player in the nation on some recruiting skills, I should say, because, it changes from scale to scale. That's no slight to the young man going there, but I'm just saying it changes from scale to scale. But, I think he's leading the charge in terms of growing, in terms of getting more top flight athletes. I think Eddie's going to be able to do that as well. I'm sorry, let me say Coach Eddie George and Coach Deion Sanders. I don't want to disrespect any coach.
Absolutely.
I don't want them to feel like I disrespected them. So I want to make sure that's correct. I said Coach Eddie George, Coach Deion Sanders. But yeah, I think they're going to continue to grow, and I think they're invested. That's the one thing that people don't understand. People look at their lives and what they've done, things like that. They didn't have to go do this. They chose to do this, and they didn't do it because they wanted the fame, the glitz, and the glamour. They did it because they wanted to help out our communities. So I think it's going to continue to grow. They're going to continue to challenge not only PWIs, but they're going to challenge more HBCUs to continue to grow and get better and just push themselves to give more to these young men that are out there playing football for them.
Now I got to get on the Titans a little bit. So do you think we keep Tannehill or do we intercept him to another team?
Intercept him to another team. Honestly, he'll be here next year. The reason why I think he'll be here next year is the cap hit is a lot. You can't cut him. And if you trade him, you got to work out a few things. And honestly, I don't know, a good trade option. People have talked about Russell Wilson. People have talked about Aaron Rodgers. But do you see Green Bay and do you see Seattle wanting Ryan Tannehill as their starting quarterback for a couple of years? Honestly, the biggest thing I think happens is I think he comes back here in 2022, of course. And also I think they potentially could draft a young quarterback.
Now, lastly, I want to talk like college basketball. Like here at Tennessee, you've got like NBA legends like Penny Hardaway in Memphis, Jerry Stackhouse at Vandy. Is this something you're seeing that could kind of grow?
Well, I would say with Vandy it could, because next year they have a top 25 basketball class coming in, which nobody really talks about, but they do next year, including a guy over at Innsworth in town that's a big man, 6'8" big man from Innsworth. So they have potentially could have something going next year. You remember when he got Darius Garland to go there and had that recruiting class. This recruiting class is top 25 and could make an impact, considering if everybody's healthy. As far as Penny, I'm not as high on Penny. I like the talent he brings in, but it's just like the coaching part of it is not translating, because it's always good to have talent, but you have to be able to coach talent and organize talent to be able to win. And at this point, it just doesn't seem like it's kind of coming all together. And it seems like some of it is starting to irk his nerves, as you've seen in his press conference when
he reminded some people he from Memphis.
What's that?
He reminded some people he from Memphis.
Oh, boy. I almost say
that definitely made news. But lastly, I just wanted you to say, like, why do you love what you do?
Man, I love what I do just because it allows me to bring a light to different things that people may not see. It allows me to still be alive in sports, even though I'm not playing anymore. It also allows me just in journalism in general, allows me to bring a light to different people that are, doing great things, but nobody's giving them a light or nobody's providing them any attention. So I love doing that. And then of course, as far as the short stories and poetry, this allows me to dabble into my creative side.
You can see his work on the Nashville Voice and also his podcast, Touring the AFC South, on all major podcasting platforms. I am once again Kevin Mumphrey, and this is Talking Business.